You've made it to Cairo Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Cairo, Zingit Solutions, Imaging Services, Posture Screen, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Bax Max, Cairo Thin, Rhino Coaching Systems, Cairo Moguls, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Mahalo Wellness, Cairo Health USA, Local Gold, and Go Get Talks. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 117 of Cairo Hustle. I am Luke. Here's Jim.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Nicole Lindsey. And if you want to know how to get referrals from the MD marketplace to go to the DC marketplace, stay tuned. So Dr. Nicole, tell us your chiropractic story and what got you so impassioned to become a chiropractor.
Well, I was en route to become a pharmacist, interestingly. All I knew growing up was Western medicine. That's all my family knew. And I happened to be a really sick kid, always dealing with something medically. And that's growing up. What I thought I wanted to do was help people in healthcare. And the only form of healthcare I knew was Western medicine. So pharmacy is what I chose. And as I grew and got closer to attending pharmacy school, which I took the PCATs, I got accepted to pharm school, I had a really interesting thing happen that kind of changed my entire direction. And I'm very fortunate that it happened. But at the time, it was a struggle. I had a really good friend that was playing basketball, just like he did every day. He was 20 years old, just shy of his 21st birthday. And after his game, he started having trouble breathing. And he went to his medical doctor because that's what we did, right? We didn't go anywhere else. And his medical doctor did an exam and said, yep, you've got asthma. Use this inhaler. And Chris used the inhaler. 2 hours later, he went into a pulmonary arrest, a cardiac arrest, and he died. He had an allergic reaction to the medication. And that happened to be a really, really good friend of mine. And this did not sit well with me. And I'm one of these people, things happen for a reason. They really do. I mean, that's how I live my life. And here I am about to enter pharmacy school. And I was really struggling looking at the curriculum. Everything was disease and pathology. And I just started getting into natural health and nutrition. And I was struggling with, okay, I'm about to put myself into debt to learn about disease and pathology and give inhalers and drugs out to people. Do I want to do this for a living? And this happened to my friend. And this is when I realized I can't do this. This doesn't sit right with me. And fortunately, I met a chiropractor right at that time. My sister was dating one. And I'll never forget the moment. I'm sitting in his car and I'm really tormented and struggling. It's the summer. I'm about to enter pharmacy school. And I said, you're a chiropractor. What a chiropractor. Don't you fix backs? What do you guys do? And he said, thank God, he was a very philosophical chiropractor. Dr. Freddie Steinberg, still practicing. He said, no, we don't just fix backs. We help connect brain to body. We help people heal naturally. We turn their power on. We stimulate their nervous system. We help them so they can avoid drugs and surgery that are unnecessary. And it was like, I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. How do I do that? That's exactly what I want to do. And he said, go to Life University. That's all you need to do is go to Life University. And I went and looked at it. I then enrolled, and here I am. Long story, but
No.
It gives me chills every time I tell it.
Your story almost makes me cry because I know that sometimes we have this force of power inside of us that we want to do what's right. Many times we don't have the discernment or the knowledge base to know what to choose. And I really think that that's kind of why we've come up with this paradigm of us against them. And really, it's all of us together. And when you start to realize that it wasn't the MD that prescribed the inhaler, it was the lack of knowledge of where to go. And I think that that's something that next question is what makes you unique in the Cairo space. And I know one of those things that you did is you bridged the relationship between the MD and the DC. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is what's unique, because I have found a way to marry chiropractic and Western medicine without losing my chiropractic soul. That's the important thing. There's a lot of chiropractors doing this, but they, in my opinion, are not chiropractors anymore. They're selling out, right? I've found a way to marry this and do it in an authentic way. And the reason why I started this was because 2008 .com bubble and all the marketing things that I had in place, things were not happening. There weren't health fairs. Nobody was doing anything, and people were dropping out of care. And it just became a really scary time to practice. And I had a lot of overhead. I had an associate, I had an athletic trainer. I had all this stuff going on and tons of staff. And I really sat long and hard and thought to myself, okay, where do our patients come from? What brings them in? And although I'd like to believe that it's because they want their life vivified, as Sid Williams used to say, really they come because they have a problem first, pain, headache, something, right? The majority of our patients. So where are they going first? The medical doctor. So if I could get in there and bridge that gap and let them know that I'm an option, then they can send them to me. And that's what I did.
So do you have any favorite motivational quotes or mantras that you live by every day?
Yes, I have lived by this one. There's quite a few, but this one here is probably the most important one, is failure is not an option. I don't even like to say that word. It's a bad F word. It's just, it never has been, no matter what it is. You just put that aside, you figure out a way, and you go forward and you make it work. That's one of my most powerful mantras to get me through and to help me become successful. It's not an option.
So you also have a coaching program too, right?
I do.
Is that something you could share with our audience a little bit about?
Sure. I have an online course that teaches chiropractors and their CAs and marketing staff the strategies that I've developed over the years to build relationships with MDs. So it's on demand, and basically chiropractor registers, they start getting the material, they can go through it at their own pace. But the cool part about it is not only do they get the material just to read and listen to and all the downloads and scripting and presentations and all kinds of content, but once a week for 4 weeks, we're going to get on a live webinar with their staff, with colleagues of theirs that are also doing this. And we're going to role play out the strategies. We're going to go through the objections. We're going to go through all the different things that come up, because I've seen it all over the years. And I'm going to make sure that Cairo CA marketing staff, they're ready to handle anything that comes their way when they get face-to-face with the MDs.
Yeah, that's I think it's a missing link for the professionalism within the profession. And I think that we've come to this place where it's been like us against them, but really, without getting too deep into the rabbit hole, it's really those that seem to assimilate like a chiropractor that are chiropractors that are changing policies within chiropractors, not the MD at all. And the MD is probably somebody that's going to send people to you because they realize that there's a limitation of treatment that they can do. And they probably are the first to go say, I want to get adjusted.
Yeah. And here's the thing, once that MD refers the patient to you, now it is your responsibility to, number one, definitely get them out of pain, treat them. That's what we're good at. I mean, who does it better than us when it comes to back pain, neck pain? I mean, who, right? So do that, right? But the second thing is, now take this opportunity to educate that patient about what chiropractic truly is. The MD doesn't care. All the MD wants to know is that you are caring for that patient and you're getting them resolution of their problem. What happens after that, if you teach the patient that's referred by the MD the chiropractic story, the MD is not going to disown you and hate you.
Yeah, I think that's a relationship thing. And like we were talking off camera about, like, certain people just want to have contribution and work with each other. And I think sometimes even when it comes to a professional arena, I've been bringing a lot of clarity to the chiropractic profession recently, saying, you guys are 1%ers. You guys are 1% of the world population as a doctor. So it would make sense to be in alignment with the other 1%ers to where we can get massive outcomes for the other 99%ers.
Yeah, that's very humbling when you put it that way. Yeah, it's like the old association with the lion versus the field mouse. I'm sure you know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the field mouse, the lion can catch mice all day long, but at the end of the day, no matter how many he ensnares, he's starving. So it's better for him to go for the antelope because there's more power, there's more authority. And that's the way we need to look at it, by aligning ourselves, by educating MDs, getting them in our corner and understanding that we're an option. We're only going to empower our profession by doing that, not to mention the credibility.
Well, we oftentimes talk about the 1%ers that rule the world, that are the financial earners, that make all the big decisions.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get that power back to the chiropractic profession and let them know that they do not have to subordinate to a lesser calling, and that they are somebody that is in contribution with the development, the transformation, and the healing of this planet. And I think that it's beyond the pain game. It's beyond the referral game. It's a human evolution game, and it's a human performance game. And when we realize that we have 1% of the world population that are actually skilled to do this stuff, then we need to really focus on how to unleash the best of that group of people and let them thrive.
Yes, well said. And here's the thing, you can't do it if you don't have patients coming in your door. You can't do it if you're not educating other healthcare professionals and letting them know. We can't do it alone. And it's time for us to lock arms and grow as a profession with other healthcare professionals.
So this is more rudimentary and this is more basic skills, but what would be possible if more people were getting adjusted by chiropractors?
One word, connection. There's so much disconnection in this freaking world. So much, whether, you know, between computers and phones, and I mean, it's just sad. There's disconnection between brain and body. There's sickness, there's depression, there's, it goes on, right? So I see everybody getting adjusted in a future world. I see people connecting to themselves, most importantly. And when people are tuned in with themselves, when they can actually hear innate intelligence, they harmonize, right? It's like a guitar. It's like playing music. You know, it's just more beautiful. There's more, there's happiness, there's friendliness, there's people working together, there's creative energy. There's less energy going towards things that drag you down because you don't feel good. So now you have all this extra energy that you can use towards building up, creating more, producing more as a society, as a country, as a world, if we have more connection.
So how do you think the world would change if more chiropractic offices took your lead and started medically integrating?
I can only, and one of the reasons why I developed this program is we should have waiting list practices as chiropractors because there's only 1% of us, right? We should have people banging down our doors to get an appointment to come in. I see if chiropractors all did what I do and learn how to build these relationships, I see them having more new patients than what they can handle. I see a need for way more chiropractors than what we have going on. I see more chiropractic schools popping up. I see it only helping us as a profession.
So where do you see the profession heading in the next 20 years?
Well, hopefully my message can become louder and I see more chiropractors doing this. I see them because every time I speak, I spoke at Sherman this year. I spoke at Life here recently. I'm speaking in Jamaica later this year for Cairo missions, spinal missions and Cairo missions. Every time I do, I have an audience of people with their jaw on the floor. And afterwards, inevitably, about a dozen or so people will come to me and say, why aren't more people talking about this? This makes so much sense. So this is where I see our profession going, is really building more bridges. And I see it growing us as a profession in 20 years.
Yeah, and I think that the people that are medically brained, that are starting unprincipled schools, they realize that chiropractic is going to be in demand, and that there's not enough chiropractors out there that can take care of people. And that's why we have these divisions of like the acronyms that come in that say, hey, I'm going to do it this way and I'm going to change policy at these schools. I think that that's more of a concern for me than where it is going as a profession. It's going from like the root cause of how people are becoming educated for the resource of becoming a qualified doctor. I think that that's where the profession should, really pay attention to, is what's being accepted to the brains of the student. It's not the practitioner, in my opinion, anymore. It's the institutions that produce these practitioners.
Definitely.
So I think we really have to get a rein on that. Like you said, these schools are popping up, and they are, because the big medical industry realizes that chiropractic is a powerful profession and they want to own it.
Yeah, of course. That is the problem with educating them more and more, is, are they going to try and take over what we do? Whenever I come in contact with MDs, I don't ever get that vibe. It's kind of like what they say to me is, you're the spinal authority. I've had 3 MDs this year say that to me. You're the spinal authority. I am so glad to meet you because I can just send those patients to you. So I think it's important how we approach that and show them what we know.
So I know that we touched on marketing a little bit, and you've done a great job of explaining how you work with MDs and how you've created a course teaching people how to make this connection. But tell us a little bit about other things that you do other than that aspect, how you really get into your community and help people.
So I am a big fan of doing a little bit of everything, right? To find out what works and then stick with those things. And the more you can do that, the more successful your office, your practice is going to be. So I'm a big fan of getting online reviews, really putting good information and testimonies out there that are real and authentic from your people. So Google reviews, I have like 110 or so 5-star reviews. I do online ads for Google, Facebook. I do a lot with Facebook as well. Facebook ads, we do videos. My associate and I have a podcast called Balanced Life on the Go. It's on iTunes, and we do an episode a week, and healthy tips, just straight content education to help people live a balanced life on the go. And we also interview a local business owner every month to cross market, and healthcare providers as well, to kind of stimulate a cross marketing relationship with that, bringing them on. I also do, just straight up videos, putting them on YouTube and then emailing them out. I still do that. That's still been a staple of helping with my SEO ranking, and also just educating as much as I can. And then, health fairs, I'm definitely not opposed to. I've got 2 coming up next week, doing a health fair here and there, business lunch and learn, going in there, bringing lunch for the business and educating them. So those are my staples.
You've made it to Cairo Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Cairo, Zingit Solutions, Imaging Services, Posture Screen, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Max, Cairo Thin, Rhino Coaching Systems, Cairo Moguls, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Mahalo Wellness, Cairo Health USA, Local Gold, and Go Get Talks. Let's hustle.
I love it. We're going to take that one little segment and we're going to share that with everybody, because I think that if people understood the strategy involved isn't so difficult. It's just the plan of getting it set up and then consistently doing it. And one of the things that I love that you said is you do the podcast and you interview other influencers in your community, and you bridge conversation and you bridge relationship. I think that that's like the salt of the earth style marketing. And if we go back to that, like paying attention to people, there's an old saying that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that you could be the most qualified person in your community, but if people don't know that you're human, they don't know where to send their humans to.
That's right.
And I think that when you start becoming tenderhearted and communication cycle with people, they start to realize that you're more like them than you're maybe different. And that you're wanting to help people and you want to be a resource. And it's not about money. It's about taking care of people. And one of the things I'm famous for saying is most people just don't know where to go or who to trust. And they fall into this trap of not feeling good and trusting their own selves to make good discerned choices. And I think that that's one of the things that what you're saying is you have to do the health fairs. Heck yeah. You have to do email marketing. Why wouldn't you? You have to do social impressions with ads, whether it's Google because they're the biggest and Facebook because they're like fighting day and day with like rankings with Google. So if you're not hitting the big ones and you're not using your files that you have from your office of the people that you've been taking care of and stay in touch with them, they're going to feel like you don't care about them either. So you have to go look for the new ones in all facets. And then you have to nurture the ones that are already a part of you. And then you have to be a steward for your community and pay attention to the influencers and be accessible for them as well.
Sounds like a lot of work when you repeat it, but but it is. It's constant work. And that's just the name of the game. Whoever told you that being a chiropractor and running your own business was going to be easy, they lied to you.
Or you lied to yourself.
Totally. It is work, but I don't know. I enjoy it. I love doing a podcast too, because I learned so much from, just like you do probably. We were talking about that before we went live. When we interview another influencer in the community, I learned so much about their trade and what they do. And it's really cool, so that now I know how they may be able to help our patient base as well in the future with stuff.
Well, here's one of the cool things, Nicole. So many of the people that we've interviewed have asked us when we're done, how can I support you guys? How can I sponsor with you guys? How can I keep your show up and running because I love what you're doing? And then it's a simple, conversation at that point of getting support from people because they see us doing the work. So they fall in love with us because of the articulate conversation that we can have about something that's meaningful to you. So that's the real harmony of being able to host Cairo Hustle, which gets about 15,000 listens an episode now.
Awesome.
So if we want to talk about, like, what do you get in return, the ROI for your time and commitment? Well, you get relationships with people and you get support from people, not only on the global community, but in your local community, if that's where your audience is. And a lot of people don't know this, Dr. Nichols, but you have to know who your avatar is. Who is your ideal client? Where do they congregate? Where do they eat? Where do they hang out? And when you figure those things out, then you can go to those places and do health fairs. Then you can go to those places and do lunch and learns. Then you can go to those places and do massage events. And that's how you build a practice of people that are inspired by you, is finding out who your ideal client is and who your ideal target audience is and craft your messaging for them.
And not only that, but you can build whatever it is that you desire. That's the coolest part about running your own business. You can create whatever you want, and it's just all up to you and figuring out how to go about doing it.
Well, here's one of the other things of it is, I'm sure you've been into an office and you're like, wow, this is modern. Looks like it's like actually 2019 in here. I'm sure you've been to an office before and you're like, damn, looks like it's like 1985 in here. Like,
Yeah.
where's the disconnect with upgrade? Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, we were talking about this earlier too, just about learning how to be authentic and to be you, when it comes to marketing. And that can be a touchy situation, because you do have to follow rules, scripts, strategies, and systems. You have that in place. I have that in place. And there's part of that people have to follow. But do know that when it comes to marketing and being successful with it, you have to be you as well. People can read right through that and see through people that aren't authentic. And if your message isn't authentic as well, don't take someone else's mission statement. Don't say something that doesn't feel right in your gut. You know what I mean? And I've done all of that in the past. Had coaches that said, don't do this, say that. And I did. And then one day I was like, looked at that mission statement on my wall and I'm like, I don't even believe in that, and I just threw it in the trash. I'm like, that's not even what I would say, but it was there for like 10 years.
Well, here's the other side of the story, is that for people that are listening to this or watching this and they are doing marketing or they are buying courses from people, please do one thing: buy it and use it and implement it. And don't just buy the next thing just to be a part of a tribe, but actually do the trainings, implement, and see how the things that people have sold you will grow your practice. And don't say, oh, that management group didn't work for me, because you know what? It's typically because you didn't do the work. So that's one of the things to also, get across to our community, is because people will buy the next best thing all the time. And they're always looking for the bigger, better deal. And they're always looking for the edge in the marketplace. But typically what I find is happening is people will actually invest in coaching, they'll invest in a community, and they won't do the damn work. Right. So my message is to everybody out there is, if you do invest in Dr. Nicole's referral-based MD program, or you jump into new patients in a box and figure out how to go out and do screenings properly, you figure it out, you pay attention, you take notes, and you do the damn work.
Yeah, just do it. I mean, you got to put the time in and energy. And, here's the thing too, if it doesn't work, say you meet your first MD and you go do a talk and you don't score any referrals. Why is that? Is it because the strategy doesn't work, or do we have to examine everything that you said, everything that took place, and tweak it and tweak it and tweak it until it works for you? Right? Same with you. I mean, I'm sure there's some things that with your system, it's like, it may not be black and white. There may be some gray with all kinds of marketing. And I guess that's the point, is that it's about figuring out what works for you.
Well, here's a pro tip to everybody out there listening. Do a Facebook Live of your next talk. That's what I do when I go and do a talk in front of an audience now. I speak to a group in Chicago. I speak to a group here in Denver. I spoke to a group in Reno recently. I do Facebook Lives of my presentations, and I do Facebook Lives of my my talks. So people can then see, wow, he's not only speaking to a room of 40 people that are impassioned to show up, he's speaking to the internet of people that are catching what he's doing. So I think that a lot of times when people do these talks, they'll go in and they won't have the right headspace, because they think about what they're making an impact on with the people right there. But if they thought about that, there's a huge global influence out there that if you were to expose yourself to that level, you'd probably damn show up differently.
That's really great that you said that, because I've been practicing for almost 2 decades. It's over 18 years now. And workshops, internal workshops, was a huge marketing tool for me. And notice I did not say that when you asked me what are some of the key marketing strategies. I was the queen at getting 50, 60 people to my workshops on a weekly basis. And it was a huge key marketing strategy that I used, right? All of a sudden, people don't want to leave their house anymore, right? And I mean, we could come up with the savviest, funnest title, the topic, and still we maybe get, 8 people, which is still okay. But to me, it wasn't enough. I wasn't reaching enough people. And so that's one of the reasons why we went to online with the podcasts. And I love that you said, do the Facebook Live, because even if they're not coming into your office, you're still reaching them, right? And that's still getting the message out, putting yourself out there, giving them the content, the education, letting them see the authentic you, and starting a relationship.
And I think a lot of times the chiropractors are afraid to reveal their secret sauce. You got to get over it. People can watch what you do 100 times and they'll never do it like you do it.
Right.
And that's why I tell people, do it 100 times like I train you, and then do it the way that you find is best for yourself. But you find your identity in exposing what's greatest about you. And then you get over your fears of closing that room. Your colleagues then watch you and say, damn, you did a great job. Or the person that didn't know that one of your patients was watching there said, hey, watch Dr. Lindsey speak on this topic. And they share that with them. And the next thing you know, you're getting a downstream referral effect because you showed up the right way and you weren't afraid of your powers.
That's really important. And I wonder if, because you, and I don't say this, I don't mean this in a negative way, but you're not a chiropractor. And chiropractors have always been very secretive and very defensive, right? In communities, maybe 60 chiropractors in my area, and I don't even know a tenth of them, right? Why? Because we're always competing. And like you said, we need to get over that. We need to stop and help each other, because no, we shouldn't be competing. There's more than enough people to go around. And what I do is going to be different than what you do. And let's just help each other, share our secrets so that we can grow as a profession. So that's very powerful, Jim. And I think that, more chiropractors need to hear that.
Well, the other part of the story is maybe go have lunch with those other chiropractors in your community once a week and build a relationship with them. And then we're not just talking about it, we're being about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just bought a summer house on the lake, and I have intentions on inviting all the female chiropractors in my area to come for the day, night, whatever. And let's just bond and be together. So that's on my agenda.
Well, towards later chapters of your life, you got to realize that it's about your community and it's not about the success. It's about your connection.
I hear that loud and clear. That's one of the things that where I'm at in my phase of life. And I think this happens to a lot of people in whatever career they're in. They have seems like every 10 years or so or 7 years, I think it is, you have a shift, and you're focusing on something else. And when you first start off, it's all about making money because you got student loans and you're driving to pay that off. And then you get married, and it's all about you being around your married friends. And then you have a kid, and it's all about being a parent. And then, it's like it constantly changes. And I'm at that point where I want to build us up, and I do want to connect more with my colleagues and with our profession.
So tell us about you a little bit more. Are you in the middle of any good books? What podcasts do you listen to? And what are some of your hobbies?
So I am I'm a fitness enthusiast. I do CrossFit. I work out pretty regularly, 3 to 4 times a week at the gym. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, in the mountains. It borders Tennessee, so we've got the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. So I'm a mountain biker. I will mountain bike any chance I get for my cardio, and just, that's where I go get my soul right, is in the woods. And we're just in this beautiful place that right 5 minutes down the road is the Blue Ridge Parkway from my house. So why not? I love to trail run as well. I also love getting together with my girlfriends and doing girls trips. We do extravagant trips, and we go somewhere different every year, 10 of us at a time. These are non-chiropractors, but I've wanted to create this for female chiropractors. And in fact, I have with 2 other chiros, Arminta Phelps and Lisa Baszler, and we started a retreat, like a female, it's called Innately Inspired, where we're putting together retreats to do this, to retreat and do a little bit of business, but a whole lot of retreating and bonding and building relationships. So kind of cool there. Books that I'm reading because of this whole women empowerment thing that we're into. My Audible right now has got Rachel Hollis all over it. Girl, Stop Apologizing. And You Are a Badass, Jen Sincero. Those are a couple of the books that I'm currently reading right now. And one of the quotes that came out of one of those books here recently, which I loved, is if it's not a heck yeah, it's a no. Very simple, but I've started to use that more in my everyday, whether it's shopping and I see something I want. Is it a heck yeah? If it's not, I'm not getting it. If I get asked to speak somewhere, do I feel really pumped about this? Because I know how stressful it is to go away from my family and to figure this all out with my practice. Is it a heck yeah, or is it a no? So just utilizing that simple strategy from that book has helped me a lot here recently. And podcasts, I listen to all kinds. I have Dumas's, always going. I have Melissa Longo's, Rockstar Doctor, that one as well. I've listened to yours as well. I have like 15 that I will flip through, some Cairo, some non, just listening to something every morning before I get going to put me in a good frame of mind for the day. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, I love that you have such an active body and an active mind, and you're contributing at such a high level. And if it isn't a hell yes, it is definitely a hell no.
Simple but powerful, I mean, it really is.
So what are some websites and resources people can go to if they want to find out more about you?
Yes. So my website for my program is Dominate Chiromarketing.com. And you can also friend me on Facebook, Nicole D. Lindsey, and I have a private Facebook group for people that want to have more conversation about building relationships with medical doctors. And that private group name is Dominators. And we post some things that are going on within the program in there as well. But those are the ways that you can reach out to me. And then, of course, you can always private message me, and we can set up a consult if you want to chat to see if MD marketing is something that you should consider.
Well, Dr. Nicole, is there anything that we didn't discuss with you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Well, I think we're always trying to tackle so much as an entrepreneur, especially as a chiropractic entrepreneur, because you're wearing so many hats. And not only that, you're being pulled, your heartstrings are being pulled because you care so much. And you're trying to accomplish so much that I want to encourage your listeners to just focus on one thing at a time and complete it, and then go to the next thing. And just keep that in mind with wherever you are in your day right now. What is the one thing you have to get done? Do it, and then move on to the next thing. Again, simple, but can be very powerful if you actually implement and execute that.
Hey, those are great words of wisdom. And I know Luke and I just want to thank you so much for being our guest today and sharing all of your information and letting people get to know you and participating in our Cairo Hustle podcast.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing for our profession. And I love this connection that we just shared. So thank you.
And we just want you to enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.
See you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to Cairo Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.